Eiffel Tower, which is a very nice postcard view. This is Pont Grenelle. Oh, here to the right hand side, that's quite a lot of galleries and shopping opportunities and so on. So it's a very animated place from over here, from the Javel over towards the Eiffel Tower. And this would be your walk, for example, if you're boarding one of the river cruise ships over here on the left, you can just walk towards the Eiffel Tower. It looks closer than it actually is, so I can guarantee you won't make any less than 20 minutes at least to get there. But it's a nice walk. Place de la Concorde over there in front of the Tuileries Gardens. That's where usually the parade meets or ends, and that's also where we have the Tour de la France ending as well. And Bastille Day is just crazy because the crowds are massive coming to see the show, the fireworks show. And of course, Eiffel Tower dresses up in blue, white, and red. That would be the French flag. And
1973, before they passed that height limitation, law back in 77. Actually, it's probably the reason why they passed that law 4 years later. I must admit, though, in all honesty, that the view from the top of the tower is extremely spectacular. Better than from the top of the Eiffel Tower, actually, believe it or not. Absolutely. Montparnasse, again, is the name of this area here. It was the Bohemian section of Paris at the end of World War I. Back in the 1920s and early 30s, there was a big colony of artists from all over the world living around here. Lots of Americans like Ernest Hemingway, Henry Miller, John Dos Passos, Scott Fitzgerald and his wife Zelda, Josephine Baker, who came from St. Louis, Missouri, all spent time here during the interwar, period. The district of Montparnasse today is well known in Paris for its crepe and seafood restaurants. Some of the best fish and seafood restaurants in the city are in Montparnasse. One important thing about the city, folks, compared to other major European cities like London or Berlin, believe me, Paris is a small town. London is 10 times the size of Paris. It is such a huge city. London is so spread out. Berlin, Germany, is 8 times bigger than Paris. The city of Paris, and I'm talking about the city proper, covers 40 square miles only and has a population of roughly 2.2 million, 12 million with the suburbs, what we call the metropolitan area. The beltway around the city is only 23 miles long. 1815. Waterloo is a small town in Belgium, not far from Brussels. Napoleon was exiled by the British to the island of St. Helena, which is a remote island, a rock in the middle of nowhere in the South Atlantic. That's where Napoleon spent the last 6 years of his rather short life. That's where he died officially of stomach cancer at age 51, even though more and more historians today seriously suspect that Napoleon was actually assassinated, that he was slowly poisoned. They found a high concentration of arsenic in his hair, a few years ago. It was 19 years after his death that his body was brought back to France from the island of St. Helena and is now buried in this church, which is open to here on your left. This is it. And see how close it is to the Eiffel Tower? I can see the police from here. Yeah. Well, the Russians can afford it. We're now very near the Eiffel Tower, everybody. Just to refresh your memory, let me remind you that the tower was built for the World's Fair of 1889. Gustave Eiffel designed it and built it. That's why we call it La Tour Eiffel in French. The name Eiffel Eiffel sounds very German. His great-grandfather immigrated to France from Germany at the end of the 18th century. Not only was Gustave Eiffel a very successful businessman, he was also an excellent civil engineer who built a lot of bridges, steel and iron, buildings, not only in France, of course, but in many other countries around the world, including the infrastructure of the Statue of Liberty, which, as you know, was a gift from the people of France to the people of America. In 1886, a few months before they started, building the tower. It took 2 years, 2 months and 5 days only to build it, which back then, that was during the Industrial Revolution of the end of the 19th century, was quite a feat of engineering, of course, especially when you think that they didn't have all the computers and the technology that we have today. When they started building the tower in the spring of 1887, some of our most popular, prominent, artists like the painter Claude Monet, Oscar Wilde, who lived in Paris at that time, or Charles Garnier, the man who built the Paris Opera.
啊，呢個位置好 ，OK。
Lily 就住喺嗰度啊，好近嘅。哦。佢直情就睇到啦。嗱。哇，好似有啲水咁啊嚇！嚇？嗰啲噴出水。喺嗰度啊，草地啊。嗱。你咪想影啊？唔係，你咁喺呢個位。你想唔想上呢個鐵塔？嚇？上去啊！上啊！上咪到時買票上去咯。誒，冇乜票上。嚇？冇乜票上。冇乜票上，點咧又影唔到嘅。
Speaking of museums, a new art museum was built on the river 23 years ago. It's coming up on the right. See, this vertical garden, this green wall is part of it. It is dedicated to North and South American, African, and Asian arts and crafts. This is it, here on the right. So we're going to cross the next bridge, everybody. Look, on the other side of the river, after that bridge to the left, you will see that gilded piece of sculpture, which is a replica of the torch, the flame of the Statue of Liberty. It was a gift 30 years ago from that famous American newspaper, the International Herald Tribune. Underneath the flame is the tunnel where Princess Diana and her Egyptian boyfriend, Dodi Al-Fayed, were both killed in that car crash, 27 years ago. The flame has nothing to do whatsoever with Princess Diana. It was there long before the accident. It's like a shrine to Diana. And the tunnel, which is down below, has become a tourist attraction, but there's nothing to see in it. It's just an underpass along the river, nothing to write home about. So we got to cross this bridge here. Years later by a French doctor who was also a member of parliament, Dr. Joseph Guillotin. A guillotine. Before that, people were always beheaded with an axe or a sword. Commoners were hanged, drawn and quartered, whatever. Only aristocrats had the privilege to be decapitated. And sometimes, especially if you had a clumsy, executioner, well, it took more than one, swing of the axe to sever your head. I mean, the guillotine was not only quicker, it was also much more humane and merciful. At least that's, what they said. No one ever, complained about it. Now we're going to turn left here before the bridge. See this long building over on your left behind the trees with the glass, top is one of our 3 impressionist museums. It's called l'Orangerie. This is where Claude Monet's panoramic water lilies are displayed. Again, the name of this rather small but beautiful museum is l'Orangerie because back in the 19th century, this building, in the garden was a great men, a thankful nation. Victor Hugo, who wrote Les Miserables and The Hunchback of Notre Dame and died in Paris in 1885, is buried in this church. Alexandre Dumas, who wrote The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo, is buried here too. Madame Curie, who discovered radium. Louis Braille, the man who invented the alphabet for the blind. 81 great men and women are buried in the old church of Saint Genevieve, which is no longer a working church, but is open to the public every day. If I can't get that apartment on the island, this would be my second choice around here, the Latin Quarter. Education in France is totally free. All those big universities like the Sorbonne here are free for French residents and members of the European Union. At the end of high school in June, students have to take a special test called the baccalaureate, which is our national secondary school diploma. If they pass, they can go to college. If they fail, they have to do it all over again. If they wish, another year of high school. Last year in June, 83% of high school students graduated. Not all of them went to college in October, of course, but 83% graduated from high school. We also have private schools and universities here, but they're not extremely, expensive. My 22-year-old niece is going to a private...
No.